If you've ever played chess before, I'm sure you have played against this opening. This is the Ruy Lopez, and most people struggle to play against it. That's why in today's video I'm going to show you how to properly play against the Ruy Lopez. I'm going to show you about 4 variations and you get to pick which one of them you like the most. And obviously this is value you would only get from Chessable courses, but instead of paying, I don't know, like 20 bucks for a Chessable course, watch this free video that will take around 10 minutes I guess, and you're going to be well suited to play against the Ruy Lopez. Now, to get things started, you're going to play knight to f6. This is the Berlin defense. And now white has two main moves. It's either d3 or castles. Castles is by far the most popular one, but we're going to take a look at d3 as well. So we're going to take, and after rook to e1 attacking your knight, you're going to have to move the knight out of the way. Both moves are fine, but this one is even better. You could go here, but you're going to struggle a bit more. This is the main line, and this is how you are supposed to play. So if you play against this, don't go here. You already know what the best move is, so you might as well do it. So they're going to take, and here there are multiple variations. You either take the knight or develop the bishop. You are not allowed to take this bishop, even though it looks like a free bishop, because as you can see, white is preparing an attack. And this is a simple trap, because after they take, you are simply going to be in check. And if you try to block this check, obviously you cannot go anywhere with the king. If you try to block this check, they're going to take the queen. And if you block with the queen, obviously they will take the queen. So, what are you going to do? Let's say you decide to develop the bishop. Both moves are going to lead to the same thing, and now the main idea is to play bishop to f1. White likes to preserve this bishop, and it's going to be placed here because it's going to defend the king. So now you are going to take, and after they take back, you're just going to castle. Let me show you real quick that if you take this and they take with a check, you still block with the bishop, and bishop to f1 is still the main line and most people play it, and you're just going to go here. And we end up in the exact same position. So let me pull this up real quick. And now main move is d4, getting a hold of the center, which is pretty good. And now you're going to attack the rook. The rook is going to go all the way back. This is the only good move for them. And now you're going to play rook to e8. What is rook to e8 threatening? Well, it's threatening to take, and take. The idea is that white here has two main approaches. Either c3, reinforcing this pawn, or looking for counterplay like this. Both moves are completely fine. You're just going to take over here, and then you're going to play knight to e8 if they develop the bishop, but almost no one plays this move. And let me show you real quick. If you decide to take this free pawn, they're going to take here, and these pawns are pretty much lost for you, and you have less chances to win the game. So, after c3, you just have a few ideas. You're going to take, and then you can either put the knight back or trade the queens as well. If you decide to trade the queens, obviously the knight still goes there because you need a reroute. And after something like bishop to f4, you're just going to play the move d5. This is protected, and this is why you place the knight here. And obviously after you stabilize with a move like c6 here, you are just going to play, let me show you real quick, c6 is the main line. And you're just going to play after something like rook to e1, you're just going to play bishop to f5. And now this position is a complete draw. With perfect play, this is a complete draw. And yeah, this is what the engine calculated for the Ruy Lopez to be the main line. And this is basically a very drawish opening. If you want to take another approach and do not want to end up in a draw, I'm going to show you another variation. But first, let me show you what happens after d3. You're just going to develop the bishop. If they ever take, you're going to take back with this pawn, opening this up. But be careful, it's defended. Because if they take here, queen to d4, and they have to play bishop e3, and you're just going to go here. Obviously, they can castle as well, but now you're just going to take, and your bishop is really strong as well. So then after something like c3, you're just going to play bishop to d6, threatening checkmate, and they have to play something like this. You are going to place the bishop there and just castle, or castle alongside and start an attack like this. Both things are completely fine, and you will be able to have a comfortable position. So, Most people don't take here, but just castle. And now, obviously, you're just going to take the more safer approach, and you're going to build a strong center. Obviously, if you don't like these positions, you shouldn't be playing e4, e5 in the first place. But this is just basic opening knowledge, right? Okay, so we found ourselves in this position. And now, obviously, I said castles. And then d6. Here, obviously, c3 trying to strike at the center, and then you're just going to castle, and a lot of other moves are fine here too. Rook to e1. They can play a lot of things. Rook to e1, h3 trying to hinder the development of your bishop. They could even take here, but you're just going to take back and then either place your bishop here or be able to pin him, depending on what they do. And yeah, this is just going to be a complete fine position. And if you ask Stockfish here, it's a complete drawn position. And obviously your opponent is going to make mistakes based on whatever elo you have, but I'm not trying to make this too long. Let's go for another variation. So we developed a knight here, but as you can see, Stockfish has multiple ways to deal with this. This would be the Cosio defense, I believe. Yeah, this is the Cosio defense. But let's go for the Morphy defense. Paul Morphy, one of the most famous chess players, used to play this, and it was a very good chess player back in the day. And now, after something like this, well, let me turn off the engine lines, right? Because there are obviously tons of moves that you can play. But we're just going to go for the Marshall. And the Marshall is actually a very important opening because now you're going to play b5 and they're going to have to drop back. Now usually this is considered bad in the Ruy Lopez, but now you're just going to play bishop to e7, reinforcing everything. Obviously this is defended, and after rook to e1 you're just going to castle. Main move and most played move by far is c3 here, and now you have to go for d5. D5 is what Magnus Carlsen plays, and I'm going to play out the main line for you real quick. This is what you do. Okay, if you ask Stockfish, this is already a pretty dynamic position. Stockfish thinks that this position is maybe a bit better for white, but it's not that big advantage. It's like 0.2 advantage. No one cares about that advantage. But the position is already more dynamic and it's not a complete draw. And now obviously they're going to strike at the center, and you can just play something like bishop d6, and after they drop all the way back you're just going to develop your bishop somewhere. Apparently the main line is queen to h4, and after this you're just going to play the move queen to h3, and obviously this is going to be a really dynamic game, and that's why I decided to show you this, because you may want a dynamic game and you may not want to get a complete draw after 10 moves, 20 moves, right? But yeah, that's the Marshall. I'm going to show you one more variation, which is the Cosio defense. And now the main line is to castle. You're going to play a6, and after they drop back, okay, they could drop back here as well, but most people do drop back here. And now what you're going to do is to play b5, and after they drop back again, you are simply going to play knight to g6. Now this completely reinforces everything in the center, and they could strike with d4, but you're just going to take, and after they take back, you don't really care. You're just going to capture again and then play bishop to b7. Bishop to b7 is simply going to target the center, and after something like knight c3, rook e1 or whatever, you're just going to have a simply have a very good position. You're just going to play c5, and this position allows for a little bit of counterplay, and if you ask Stockfish here, this is already very much better for black. Obviously, rook to e1 was not accurate. You were supposed to go here, and this is already pretty good for black as well. Let's go for another variation and one last variation, and I guess after that you will be completely well suited for the Ruy Lopez. But don't mix these things up. You can learn them, but don't try to implement ideas like the d6 move if you already have played the Morphy defense. It can go fine. It can actually go pretty good, but you have to be careful with some moves, because after something like this, if you directly play the move d6, you're simply going to get a sort of Italian position where whatever you do, the opponent is going to strike at the center like this, and suddenly you kind of have a Philidor defense, right? And you do not really want to go in the Philidor defense. Obviously, it's a fine defense. I am not saying anything. But if you're already playing the Morphy or the Steinitz, you should not transpose into anything else. But this is nonetheless, the Steinitz defense is very similar to the Philidor, and I'm going to show you a few basic ideas. So castles, and as you can see, this is very basic. Castles in the Ruy Lopez is very basic. You can develop the knight, but you would rather go bishop to d7 in the Steinitz defense, and after a move like c3, preparing d4, and again, these patterns go over and over again in the Ruy Lopez. That's why the Ruy Lopez, even though it has a lot of theory and a lot of deep theory, a lot of patterns are actually very straightforward and very common in each position. So what are you going to do? Knight to f6, and then you could either get rook to e1 or d4. If ever d4, you're just going to take takes, and bishop to e7, and the center is completely stable, by the way. You could get takes, and then after something like this, you would just play back. But this position is completely fine, and if you like to threaten your opponent and to make him overextend, you're just going to go something like this, and then castles. And this position is completely fine. If we ask Stockfish, it's actually black who has the initiative here, because if you look at the development, all pieces are already developed, and it's very easy for whites to overextend. Okay, so these basic ideas are going to help you to play against the Ruy Lopez. And if you were to ask me what I would like to play the most against the Ruy Lopez, well, I'm actually a dynamic player, so I would probably go for the Marshall. And again, the Marshall is this. And after something like this, you're going to play b5 here. And if you don't like the Marshall, you can go for the Berlin defense. The Berlin defense is going to pretty much secure a draw, unless you do a massive blunder. I don't know the way you play, right? But it's a theoretical draw decided by the computers. The computers have calculated multiple moves in multiple positions, and it's a complete draw with perfect play. Obviously, your opponent is not going to play perfectly, as I've said before. But if you are going to play solid, and the Berlin defense is pretty straightforward, and it's not hard to make any bad moves, to make any good moves, I think you'd be fine with that. But again, the Marshall can be superior as well. After c3, you're just going to play d5. And yeah, I hope you liked this video. If you liked this video, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. And comment down below which opening I should cover next. If you struggle with any kind of opening, or you have any other video ideas or chess ideas that I should post on my channel, let me know. And as always, don't forget that with the link in my bio, you can get the best chess products you've ever seen. See you next time.